Hey, welcome back to Baseball 101. We are continuing our tour of the state. We've covered St. Louis area, and today we're over, southwest Missouri, down in Nixa. Get to talk to Coach Hughes today, which I'm excited about. I looked up some of his playing days, and he has a very different perspective because he coached college for, holy cow, what was it, about 15 years from what I read?
Yeah. Yep.
So he's been on both sides. Nick's has been very successful. You took over spring of 22 was your first season, correct?
Yes, sir.
So since then, you have one Final Four. You've had a couple really, Caden Cloud and Wyatt Vincent. You had draft this past year. So Nick's is in a very good spot and doing very well. And I'm sure that it's no coincidence that you taking over has kind of elevated that program to this next level. So very curious some of the things you're doing down there, and get into that in the next 45 minutes. But thanks for doing this, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really looking forward to talking to you. Love talking baseball. Love talking sports in general, and so let's have some fun.
Well, well, in that case, we can talk about all kinds of things. But
Yeah.
um, I'm curious, and I I guess you were in college, 15 years coaching wise. What made you want to switch kind of to the high school level and take over at Nixa?
I at the time that it happened, honestly, really had no interest. We moved back from Michigan, 2013, I guess, 13, 14. My wife Janessa and I moved back and got took an assistant job with Scott Nasby at Drury.
Mm-hmm.
Hired me there so we could come back. We were both from the area, and we moved to Nixa when we moved back. And so we've been in Nixa since 2013. We kind of knew that, just living here for a few years, this was where we wanted to raise our family and have kids and have our kids go through the school system here. And so we've just kind of always been part of the community, but not that invested in the community just because we didn't have kids yet. And I was at Drury up in Springfield. And so honestly, when the job came open, somebody had mentioned something to me, and didn't even really cross my mind. We had a really, really good senior class coming back at Drury. That was a bunch of probably 7 4-year starters at Drury that we knew we were going to be really good. Kids that I loved, cared about, recruited, spent a whole lot of time with. And I'm good friends with Jeremy McCoy, who's the assistant athletic director here, and a couple friends from the area that were like, "Job's open, you should go at least talk." And Janessa agreed. We at least go. Doesn't hurt to talk and interview. And so went through the whole interview process, and they did an awesome job. It was a really, really good interview. You could tell the support that Brandon Clark, the director of athletics, has, and the entire school system has for athletics. And it was a really, really good interview. But even after the interview, I wasn't interested, to be honest. I
Yeah.
just loved where I was at. I loved being at Drury. I loved coaching with Scott Nasby and Gage Jacobs and the guys that we had and what we had built there, and we're continuing to build. And I don't know, something just kind of weighed on my heart. I always knew I wanted to be a head coach. I knew that Coach Nasby was grounded there at Drury, being a Springfield area guy, and played at Missouri State, and so I knew he was going to stay around the area with his family. And ultimately, it just came down to this. This was an opportunity that may not come open again. And
Mm-hmm.
when we thought about it as a family, like, this was probably the only high school job that I would have even considered, just because we lived here. We were in the area. We loved the schools, and so that ultimately was the decision. Was it may not come open again because it is such a great school, and school system and athletics departments are so good. Somebody might take the job and be here for 20 years, and I might not get this opportunity again.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what it came down to, was just this is the chance. This is the opportunity to take over a program, kind of put our stamp on the program and run things the way we wanted to run things. And ultimately we made the decision as a family. It was great for us and our kids. And and it's been great ever since.
Yeah, and it's funny just how life sometimes God opens up opportunities you're not even looking for, and then when you're looking for opportunities, you can't find them. So you
Yep,
might want to take advantage of
so
them while you
true.
got them, because you never know where God's going to lead you. I definitely was not planning on. I was at middle school to start, and someone asked me to interview at the high school, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm at, and I made the mistake of telling the person I'd pray about it, and the next thing I know, I'm at the high school. I mean, I tried.
Careful what you pray for,
I
right?
would say when I said I was going to pray about it, I was like, okay, I'll pray about it. But clearly, I mean, how often does that actually instantly
Yeah.
you get that? Yeah, I prayed about it the next day. The principal from the high school actually, that I didn't even know, emailed me and asked me if I want to go to an Athletes in Action conference. And I'm like, okay, so I guess I need to at least pursue this a little more. And
Yep.
I tried to bomb the interview. It didn't work. I did everything under the sun to not get that job. I don't think you could do anything worse in an interview than I did. And I mean, it was just bad. So,
It's amazing how God has such a good sense of humor, and it's never really our plans. It's always
no,
God's plan.
no, I,
Like I knew like it was such a hard decision because how much I cared about the guys at Drury and Coach Nasby and Gage. And I didn't want to leave those guys. And honestly, it happened that one night. I called my dad, and I didn't know what to do, and we just talked for a while and pros and cons, and he's always the dad. Well, write it down. What are the pros? What are the cons? What do you think? And this and that. And I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know what I do. And he was like, Logan, you know what you're going to do, and you know what you want to do. You just don't want to tell them. And ultimately, that was 100% it. And that was literally the moment that I was like, you're right. I do want the
yeah,
job. I am going to take the job. I just don't want to tell my players that I'm leaving them, and coaches that I'm doing something else because I've been there so long and invested so much time. And that was it. You're right. It was just God was like He spoke right through my dad, and He said, "Yes, you are. This is what you want to do. You know that's what you want to do. Just do it. Just go do it."
yeah.
And it has. It's been incredible.
And that's when, when you allow yourself to be open to opportunities and you go for what your gut's telling you to do or God's telling you to do, it's amazing how things work out a little bit better than when we try to do things on our own. I don't know. You talk about God's sense of humor. I mean, I think so. This is completely random, but when people talk about God, they don't think about fun. I'm like, actually, God created fun, so He's really the original
Correct.
party. I mean, He's the original party animal. I mean, you don't see like
Yep.
Satan going around creating fun for people. That's God's job. So I
Yep.
don't. We
That's
are.
exactly right.
We took a left turn from baseball. It's okay. It's God
Great.
talk. We'll get back there eventually. But so when you get the job and go in, I mean, Nixa is a growing area. For those that don't know, that is south of Springfield, correct?
Yep. Yep.
So
Southwest side.
it's the part that's really been growing a lot lately down Nixa, Ozark that way. So it's an up and coming, and obviously still a big town right now. But there's a lot of
Yep.
development still left in Nixa, right?
Yeah, there is. We're growing every year. Our enrollment's up to 2,000, just over 2,000. Continuing to grow. You see houses, neighborhoods going up everywhere. The number of kids that are coming out for sports is growing. We had over 300 kids try out for our youth baseball program
Wow.
this year, which was a massive number for us. And so, yeah, I think it's continuing to grow. I think you kind of see Springfield area, people are moving in the area and they're looking and they're kind of maybe not wanting the big city feel, but they want to be close to it. And so they're looking at surrounding areas. Republic's growing,
Yeah.
Ozark's growing, we're growing, Rogersville's growing. And I think that's because people are just kind of maybe not wanting to be in the middle of the city, but close enough to it.
Yeah. So you said you had 300 kids. What's the youth program that you guys are doing in Nixa? You have your own system going there?
Yeah, we do Nixa Baseball Club is what we call it. We have two teams starting at 7, all the way up through 14. And then this year we're actually going to have 15U, a 16U, and a 17U team in high school. And so 19 teams in our organization that are 99.9% now all Nixa kids. And so it's very, very exciting. You know, 300 kids is awesome coming out
Yeah.
for baseball that are excited about baseball. It also makes it tough because we can't keep 300 kids. We just don't have the facilities, resources, coaching. So that makes it tough too, but it's exciting that many kids are interested in playing baseball.
So with the club stuff, and obviously in St. Louis is different than Springfield, but St. Louis is like every kid wants to go play for these different clubs, and there's such a I don't know what the club's selling to make them to pay what they're paying and promise them these scholarships that don't exist. Like when you were recruiting, you didn't go out and look based on the club. You heard of a player and you just went recruit the player, correct? It didn't matter what club they were playing for.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody has their different views on travel ball, summer ball organizations. We've never been, when you get to high school or any age group, honestly, we've never been an organization that says you will play for us. You have to play for us, otherwise you won't play in high school for us. That's just not it's the same for families too. Like some of these organizations, like we're going to be a cheaper option because um, until we at least get to junior high, all of our coaches are dads. And so we're not paying them the way that travel ball organizations are paying their coaches. So that keeps our fees down for our kids. We're staying mostly local within, we're going to Northwest Arkansas and Max Creek and Joplin and some of these tournaments. Branson, now there's a lot. Springfield just finished like 7 turf fields. So the facilities and the resources are growing a lot more down here that we don't have to travel as much to play great baseball. But some of these families and some of these kids, when they get to high school, that is what they want. They want to go to Perfect Game down in Georgia, and they want to go to Wisconsin and do all these things. And it's a lot of money. And that's the thing that's tough because everybody's different, and I'm not really on one side or the other. Ultimately, I want our kids to do what I feel like and they feel like and their families feel like is best for them in the growth of baseball. And if that means they need to get out of here, Caden Cloud, Wyatt Vincent, they never played for Nixa Baseball Club. They played for travel organizations and they got out. And they, played in front of Kentucky more consistently and Missouri State when they traveled, or some of these, southern schools down in Texas that we don't financially have the resources to do that with our teams consistently. The other thing you find out is 95% of your kids, at least in our area, end up going somewhere within 3.5 hours.
No, it's the same here.
Yeah, and so why travel to Georgia, and Texas, and Wisconsin, and spend 15 grand a summer to end up, and I'm not, again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm against anything. I'm just saying that's the conversation we have with our high school families is like, what's the benefit? Like, why are you doing it? If you feel like you're doing it because he's playing better competition, or he maybe is a power four guy, okay, I understand that. At the same time, when you go play for travel organizations, I don't have as much control over where I need you to get better, how many innings I need you to pitch in the summer, what position in the field or batting order I want you to play because I need you to come back, next year in high school and be better at third base. But you go play for a summer ball team and they have 3 third basemen, so they put you in left field.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do with our families is have real conversations about, okay, what's the purpose of summer ball? Why are you guys doing it? What do you want to get out of it? And then I give them my perspective just so that they can kind of understand what I'm coming from a college and a high school side of things. Let's do what's best for your son to help him grow in the game and get better, to help him reach his highest potential. And but maybe a lot of that is why we have 3 high school teams. We didn't have any last year at the older age, and now we have 3. And so, but we're going to go to Omaha once. We're going to take them to that Omaha experience. We're going to do a team camp, maybe at Auburn or one of those. And then most of them are going to be, Kansas City, Columbia, St. Louis, Northwest Arkansas. Just if you want to go to college and you want to play figure out where we can go, what level we can play at, and then we need to get in front of those schools as much as we can, and
Yeah,
not
and
worry about going east and south and all
yes.
these places where you're not going to end up going.
No, the percent of kids that are going to play in the Power Four has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And with the transfer portal NIL, unless you're a draft caliber player, you're not going to Power Four anymore. It's not going
Yeah,
to happen. And I think for parents to understand that, which then brings back the reality of why are we spending money to go all over the place and spend this money traveling when the reality is you're going to play somewhere here. And there's nothing wrong with that, whether it's a junior college or division NAI, D2, D3, there's good baseball at all levels. You don't need to spend money. I'm all for going out and having a couple experiences in Omaha or seeing the Kyle Ripken stuff. And that's
yep,
great. But those should be rarities. It shouldn't be an expectation to be 5 days a week at these tournaments spending $10,000 when you're going to play. There's nothing wrong with going to Nixa and playing Drury. It's a quality baseball
yeah,
program. So
yep,
I,
absolutely.
for the parents that are watching this from Nixa and you're starting to doubt your coach, don't doubt your coach. Don't trust. This is the same conversation I've had with many people where, especially in the state of the game right now, and it's changed a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, even since my son went through the recruiting process. Get out to junior college, get out to those things. I mean, both of us, I know we talked earlier a little bit. I played at junior college and then D1, and then I was drafted. You went to
Yep,
Arkansas and then to a junior college, then to UMSL. And there's nothing to me, junior college, I really enjoyed. Like there was a part of it that
yep,
was, but both of us had the priority of I want to get on the field and play. I can't get better if I don't play.
yep,
And I think that should be the number one thing they're looking for. Like you said, get in front of the schools that you can play at and not just attend.
absolutely. And I think that's why it's tough is because, as these Power Four schools are getting better because of the portal, and you now have 24, 25 year olds
Mm-hmm.
playing college baseball, transferring from one Power Four to another Power Four. Well, then they have to get rid of guys too.
Yeah.
And so those guys that were at those Power Fours now go down to the mid majors, and then the mid majors have to make room. So they get rid of some of their lower end guys, and guess where they're going? Now they're going down to the D2s
Yep.
and the NAIs and the junior colleges. So every level is getting better. And so now junior college is tougher to play at
Yeah.
because they have a lot of guys coming down from the Power Fours. And same with D2. I know Drury has a bunch of D1 guys coming in this year. Like they're better now. And so we got to get away from like looking at what level I'm playing at, or where I say I'm playing at, and go play. Like
Yeah.
play, and here's the deal. I'm not saying this is what you should do, but let's say you go to, I don't know, Evangel or somewhere and you absolutely tear it up. And because you get to play and you play a lot and you're a dude, guess what? Somebody's coming to look at you now, or Drury or Central Missouri, and you go tear it up. Now all of a sudden, Missouri State's like, we need a third baseman. Well, this guy had an incredible year.
Yeah.
Okay, well now you're there, but you didn't sit at Missouri State for a year and wait. You went and played, and you got 200 at bats, and or whatever that looks like. So you got those opportunities to get better. And so, by no means am I saying don't try to go D1. We have a kid that just signed, committed at TCU.
Yep.
I obviously want all of our kids to play at the highest possible level and the highest possible level for them. I'm just saying, my experience, it is way more fun to play
Absolutely.
than it
Well,
is to sit. It doesn't matter what level.
no. College is recruiting the portal more than they're recruiting high school. I mean, that's the
Yep.
reality right now. Colleges are spending more time finding portal players than they are out watching high school kids, unless it's the elite 1%. I mean, for a kid to go TCU, that's a special talent. That's not something you
Yep.
can just magically work hard and be a D1 kid at this point. You have to be special. And I think that it's just a perception for so long. It was like, I have to go D1. Right now, it's if you can get on the field wherever you're going, that's where you're going to be recruited from. If you went to UMSL right now and got
Yep.
200 bats and tore it up, you're going to be D1 the next year. So
That's exactly right.
it's just a shift, and I think the transfer portal and the NIL money, it has really changed the recruiting process, and it's tough. And then you get guys like Wyatt Vincent, who was drafted this year and signed with the Mets. You start getting into that conversation I had with my son 2 years ago. It's like, okay, do you go to Mizzou and try to up your stock and gamble on yourself for another 3 years, or do you take the money and try development through that? Like, what were some of the conversations you had with him and his family as he kind of navigated that?
Yeah, I didn't have a ton of those communications with them. His dad played professional, his uncle played professional
So
baseball.
yeah, so they understood
Um,
it.
yeah, and I think Wyatt always knew like that's his goal. That's his ultimate goal is to play professional baseball. And when you look at it, if he has an opportunity to get into a system at the age of 18,
Yeah,
nothing's guaranteed anymore either. You could go to Missouri State or any college, and hopefully not, but you could have a career-ending injury,
yeah, that
or you could
I
go
did.
there and not play. Yeah, you could go there and not play, and 3 years later, guess what? You're 3 years older, and there's another group of kids that are 3 years younger than you that maybe are just as good or not quite as good,
Yeah,
but I can develop them now, and so now you don't get drafted again. And so I think his thing was, you know, I can come back to college. I can go get my degree in 5, 10, 20,
hmm
30 years if I want to. I may not get this opportunity again, um, to get drafted to a great organization, get in there to a great system where they want me and they want to develop me. And so I think ultimately, if he got drafted, he was going, and that's what he had his mind made up on that. And Cloud's a little different. Cloud wants to go to Kentucky. Cloud wanted
yeah,
to go. He wanted to go to college. He wanted to be there. He wanted to play at Kentucky, and experience all that kind of stuff. And great for both of them. Like it's
absolutely.
exactly what they both wanted. And we had 10. I think 10 of our 13 seniors last year went to play college baseball, and we had a couple at Evangel, a couple at Baptist Bible, some junior college. We had D1s, D2s, like, and that's kind of was my thing to them is like, let's find out where you can go and have an opportunity to get on the field. Um,
Yeah,
because I know everybody says I want to go high, I want to play as high as I can. Well, you get there and you sit, and that is no fun. And
no,
and like when you could be playing every day and having a good time, like that's ultimately what you're going to enjoy the most, and you're going to talk about the rest of your life. Is I got 800 at bats in college,
hmm
and nobody asks me where it was at. I'm just like, yeah, it was all conference, all American. I got to do this, I got to do that, and I loved every second of it. And ultimately, I was very lucky because I got to play my last 2 years of college with my brother, who came up there after we went to Merrimack, and we got to play together for 2 years. And that's the stuff that I talk about,
yeah,
still is playing and being on the field and having fun with the guys like that.
absolutely. So, as you at the high school level with your teams currently, what are you trying to instill in them to prepare them for college? I mean, we both agree that high school should be about looking forward and getting them ready. Are there certain things you want to make sure that they got, especially since you were on the recruiting side that you saw a lot of kids missing? What are you trying to really prepare them for?
Well, so kind of first off, when we first came here, the first thing we did with our program, like making sure that guys understood, is that the weight room is extremely important. And especially when you look at the college landscape now, and if
Yeah,
you're watching any of, and I don't like comparing anybody to Major League Baseball players because they're different, but just look at them. Like shortstops are 6'3", 220
yeah,
pounds. Like leadoff hitters, Schwarber, Shohei, like they're 6'5", they're 250 pounds, they're huge. Like the first thing we did was like, we're gonna lift, and we're gonna lift a lot.
yeah,
And ultimately, when guys, the first couple of years, guys would go to college and they'd come back their first fall break or something, they're like, oh my gosh, coach, all we do is wake up at 5 a.m. and lift and run and this and that. I was like, told you, like
yeah,
that's what you do when you go to college. And so the sooner we can bridge that gap, the easier it is for them when they get there. And so ultimately, we try to make them understand it won't be easy. It's not going to be easy to play at Nixa. It's not going to be easy to get an opportunity to play in college, and it sure isn't going to be easy to play in college. But all the time and effort, I promise it will be worth it. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that they all say is like, yes, we're glad you got us up at 5 a.m. to lift every week. And we lift all throughout the season. We still wake up at 5 in the morning and we lift on game days if it falls on a day that we lift. And so ultimately, I just hard work, like I want them to understand it's going to be hard. Practice is going to be hard. Lifting, waking up is hard. Getting good grades is hard. Like we kind of built the program because we did it at Drury too on three things. Number one, you have to be a good person. Like ultimately, the game ends, whatever it looks like, you move on, you get married, you have kids. You have to be a good person. Like be a good husband, be a good dad, be a good person in the community. Ultimately, that's the most important thing that we try to instill in our kids is just be a good human being. Number two is you got to be a good student because that's the other piece of recruiting that we talk about a lot is there's so much more money in academics than there ever will be in your athletics. And so your freshman fall semester counts. And so if you think about we want to come into school and mess around and then sophomore year, oh, I got a 1.4, now I got to lock it in because I'm a sophomore. Well, buddy, it goes with you and you carry that 1.4. And so we have a pretty strict academic policy and that we have in place. But you know what? Once you kind of get them to understand it, like high school's challenging, but it's not that hard to get good grades. Like if you go to class, you pay attention, you stay engaged, and you do what the teachers expect of you, you're going to get good grades. And so that's number two, be a good student. And then number three is like have a passion to get better at baseball. Like that's why you're on the team. That's why you want to play or move on to college. Have a desire to get better at baseball. And we go in that order. We will not keep a kid who's really good at baseball who is not a good person. It just doesn't fit with my personality and my coaching staff. And because we want to focus on helping you become better as a baseball player. And if we're focusing so much on you failing classes all the time, we're taking away from our opportunities to help you as a baseball player and a young man and from the rest of the team. And so we've been very fortunate enough that guys have bought into that. Being a good person, every one of our guys has a 20-hour community service rule that they won't touch the field in the spring until they get 20 hours of community service. And we do a lot of them as a team, but they have to figure out and find some on their own. And then we have very high academic standards and they understand that too. And they know if they don't have a 3.5, then they're bringing our team average down. And that's tough, but that's the way we do it. Because they understand, like get a 3.5 or a 3.7 and you go to college at Drury, it could be $100,000 over 4 years. That's a lot of money. Like,
absolutely.
And and guys are just like, well, I'm going to be really good at baseball. Well, yeah, so are millions of other people. And it's just a long-term investment that we try to get our guys to see the big picture of everything and understand it all correlates. Be a good person, you be a good student. You know what? You're probably going to work hard and get better at baseball too.
Yeah.
And they all kind of work together.
Well, it's if you can be disciplined, the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. I mean, you just can't expect to be excellent on the field and average in the classroom. Like excellence is an all the time thing in every aspect of life. It just doesn't work. Everyone's played at a high level, and anyone that's ever been successful understands it's a commitment and it's being disciplined, but that discipline opens up opportunities. And that's, I think, once for your kids, once they understand, look, these things are things that are creating opportunities for me academically, athletically in college. It's easy to get that buy-in. I think the tough part, at least what I've seen over the years, the thing that typically fails is their passion. And I think a lot of it's because of the club, the amount of games kids are playing early on. By the time they get to 13, 14, 15, 16, that love of the game and the passion for it just kind of wanes a little bit. So like with your club, do you set boundaries or are Are you training year round? I know clubs do it differently, and I don't. I mean, I have my opinions on kind of this stuff. I was just curious what your thoughts are, because that passion, once you lose it, the parents, I wish they understood. Once a kid's burnt out, they're done. There is no going back.
Yep.
So I always wanted safeguards in place to protect my son and the kids I coached. Of like, look, I know you want more, but I want you to continue to want more next year and not get so much this year that you're done. So how do you approach that within your program and within the club part?
Yeah, it's really tough because it's we're seeing it. I think every school probably sees it in every program. When we make the decisions for our kids until they're a certain age, they're going to practice. They're going to go play in the games. They're going to go get lessons. They're going to do all these things because we're making the decisions for them.
Yeah.
And then we do it so much and want to push them so high and so far that when they get to the point where they actually understand that it's my decision now, I'm tired of that. I'm tired. Like I want to be a kid. Now I
Yeah.
want to do other things when I don't have to do this, because we pushed them so much at such a young age that they're not able to handle that or comprehend it. And when they're younger, they just think that's normal. Like
Yeah.
I go to practice 6 days a week. I do these things. I'm 9 years old because we get in the car and we go to practice, and we do it the next day and the next day because that's just what I'm used to, and that's what I've always done. And then they get to the spot where they can make the decision on whether or not they're driving to practice or they want to go to practice or they want to play the other sport, and they're like, I'm just kind of tired. I'm
Yeah.
kind of tired, and I'm worn out, and I'm burnt out, and it's just not as fun anymore. And it's really tough because you're seeing that a lot. I think at every school, we don't have necessarily policies. I'm a multi-sport guy. I played 3 sports in high
Yeah.
school. I love every sport, to be honest. I just love sports in general. I could go sit and watch our volleyball team. I'd love to play tennis, pickleball, racquetball.
Yeah.
I just love sports in general. And we're trying to do the same with our 2 boys, playing as many sports as they can, just kind of get them exposed to everything to find out what they love doing. But we've also had to, shut our oldest. He's only 10, but we played 1, 2 fall ball tournaments, baseball. But you know what? Now he loves tackle football, and
Yeah.
he didn't until the day before practice started, and then he was like, "I'm all in." And honestly, it was right after church one day. He's like, "Dad, I'm playing football." I'm like, "I think God spoke to him. I don't know what happened at church, but." And he loves tackle football now, and I am all for that. You know what? And so I told him, and we talked about last week, we're going to put the glove and the bat down for 2 months, and December comes around, and we get ready to ramp it up for spring ball, then we'll pick it back up and we'll
Yeah.
get to work. And you know what? There will be enough time for us to do that. But kids, they need to let their arms rest too,
Yeah.
like their bodies, their arms. And so we don't necessarily have a policy in place, but majority of our younger kids in our organization play football and play basketball. And I think that's because of we have such successful high school programs in all of our sports. The kids want to be a part of all of them, and so it's really, really good. Most of our best baseball players have been multi-sport athletes.
Yeah.
Cloud played soccer. Vincent played football and basketball. A lot of our guys are multi-sport athletes, and I think that's great because it not just their body like gets a rest from it, but their mind gets a rest from, like baseball's a grind. It is so mental. It is so much about failing that it's important that you allow your mind to get away from like, man, I'm only having success 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
That's a lot of failure to deal with at 15 years old.
Yep.
It's good for them to not have to think about failing so much, and go do something else, go play something else. And so our fall ball is it's really up to each individual team and the families if they want to do it. But we don't push anything in the fall with our kids. No clinics, no camps really. We give them time to go do their other things, and families do their other things, and then we'll get ramped back up. Towards the end of December, we'll have some clinics just to get kids back into some fielding stuff, and then January 1 usually is when we tell our kids we have the facilities reserved. Once a week, you want to get in there and get rolling again. Twice a week, February, and then we're rolling in March. And we don't have a set game schedule that they all play, but they understand it's like 25 to 30 with the smaller guys, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. You just kind of ramp it up based off of what they want to do, what each team wants to do. And again, we have 2 teams at every age group, and so usually one of them plays a little bit more competitive, longer schedule, and one of them doesn't. And so they have opportunities to sometimes select which way they go on that too, knowing one of them maybe not as strenuous with practices and games and travel. And so just allows them an opportunity that fits better for their family. So that's the thing with that. It's getting more prevalent now too, is burnout. And
Yes.
Like we've had a couple in the last couple of years in Nixa who are really good baseball players, and probably college baseball players, to be honest, who just, coach, I just don't love it the same anymore. And we're, as a family, we've talked, as our coaching staff, we've talked, when did that happen? Like, did that happen his junior year, or did that start happening when he was 12 and 13 and 14? That's what we have to be careful of, is that we're not, now he's 17, he drives, he makes his own decisions pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore. And now the parents are like, yep, okay, it's your decision, right? And so, but when did that start happening is what we have to figure out. Why is that happening?
And that's why I think there's a lot of parents that are trying to push their kids to do more and more and more. And by the time, and I hear it, and this isn't a baseball thing, it's a sport thing. Volleyball, soccer, softball, baseball, like you name it. I have a hockey player right now that could go playing in college in my class. He's like, I'm done. And it's this trying to get safeguards in place to make sure parents understand, you pushing and saying, hey, my kid's going to be a college athlete. You can't be a college athlete if you're not passionate about playing anymore. Like the one thing you have to protect more than your ability to hit, throw, field is the love of the game. If you don't protect that part of it, you can't keep playing, especially, and you get to college, it is a grind and it is a difficult, and the moment that you have adversity and you're not passionate about it, you're not going to work through it. It's over.
That's exactly right. Yep.
So,
and it doesn't come back. Like
no,
it doesn't just magically come back. Like you lose that, it's on to something else. That's what we got to figure out, as coaches and parents, because I have a 7 and a 10-year-old. And we're battling it too, because everybody around us is, go play this, go play that, go play that. You have to play this much this. You have to play that.
Well,
and it's tough.
It is tough.
As parents now, you're like, well, if I'm not giving those opportunities to my kid, how he's falling behind. How much are they losing out on opportunities if these kids are doing this and they're doing that, and I'm not pushing my kids to do that? Like, is my kid going to be the best he can possibly be? And so that's tough, because it's like, where do you draw the line? Because it's also different for everybody.
Oh, and that's the part that it's so unique. And I think, like our backgrounds, we both played college baseball, so we see things a little different. I coached a couple years at Missouri Baptist. You've coached in college. Like, we've seen things differently. I played professionally. The thing that, at least for my son, and the way I did it in middle school, he could only play 30 to 35 games, and he could go out of town one time. In high school, even, he was playing for the Royal Scout team, and I said, you can play 4 tournaments a summer, and that's it. And the amount of times that I was told, your son's going to fall behind, he's not going to do this, he's not going to do that. But, I mean, he was the first player drafted out of Missouri 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff where, at least, like I said, my priority was always to make sure his love of the game was number one. And if he had that, everything else was going to take care of themselves, because we both see, I was at a 13U game last weekend, one of my friends, and I was with my son, and I told him, I go, can you look out here and just see the actions of a kid at 13 and say which ones are going to be good? And he's like, yeah, there's some kids that their actions at 13 are pure. That doesn't mean they're going to be great, but they have the potential, if they don't burn out, to be special. And it has nothing to do with training. It has nothing to do with anything other than they just have that ability that other kids don't have. But they have to love the game long enough for it to actually happen.
Absolutely. Something we start talking to our guys about too is there's a street that goes right behind our field, a very busy street. And I say, here's what we want to see. Here's how we need to approach the game as coaches, but also as players, as young men. Picture some random person walking by the street and says, "Oh, there's something going on out here. There's people here. There's kids out on the field." Walks up. This person sits down in the crowd, watches this sport, has no idea what it is, doesn't know what a pitch is or a hitter or defense. But that person leaves and says, that is a really good player right there. And they have no idea about your stats. They don't know if you got 4 hits or you hit 4 home runs.
Yeah.
But they watched you play a game and have fun, and you ran everywhere, you cheered, you were yelling, you were having a great time, and that person leaves saying, that kid's a good player. And they don't know anything about the sport.
No.
But they left it thinking you were great because of just how you played, just how you had fun, how you enjoyed it. And that is how we need to figure out how to approach this game. Just play as hard as you can because you love it, so that somebody who watches you doesn't know anything about it thinks you're the best player out there.
Yeah. So you talked about the 3 things. The third, we were talking about passion for the game, which we've been talking about. The second one's academics, which pretty clear. But your first one, and I definitely want to ask you about, like, them being a good person. Are there things that you encourage or try to teach them, or how does that piece kind of look when you're trying to teach that to these guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with ultimately community service. Like we go work at some shelters and help people there. We go to some food banks and help pack bags and lunches for the holidays. I think just trying to get them to understand thinking about somebody else before themselves.
Absolutely.
And ultimately being selfless when it comes to, it's more important that I help somebody else before I help myself. And not because I want something in return, but because it feels good to help other people, and probably other people who are less fortunate than you and I are. And so when you do that, it just feels something in your heart that like feels good, and it makes you want to do it more. And ultimately, when you get leaders on your team who buy into that, everyone else follows. And then it's a yearly thing. You don't really have to preach it as much as a coaching staff because your leaders this year, kind of take it over and they help the younger kids understand it. And the younger kids get older and now they're doing it and they're teaching the younger kids, and it just kind of keeps going on every year. And so I think that was the first thing we did, was just making community service a huge part of our program and helping people in our community, but also Springfield. We do a lot of things in Springfield and a lot of things around our schools with helping paint and just trying to help other people, help as many people as we can. Yeah, and servant leadership, right? Like hoping that when we help other people, they see how much it helped them, and then maybe they'll help other people, and just has the reciprocating effect. And ultimately, they don't necessarily understand it, but when we went to the Final Four in 23, we had about over 5,500 people come to watch us play in the Final Four. 5,500 people. It filled U.S. ballpark.
I was there. It was impressive.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of those people. There's only 40 kids on our team, so there at least 80 at most were related. So the rest of them had some type of relationship with our kids, or knew our kids, or heard of our kids or our program, that they wanted to come support them. And that's ultimately what it's all about, like building a community, a relationship with our community that says we're going to help you, and then when we're playing or we're doing things, you guys will show up too. And that's kind of what it's all about, is just trying to help as many people in this life as you can.
That's the serving others. Obviously, it's a lesson that once kids get a taste of it and they understand that they're not the center of the universe. Baseball is not my identity. It's just something I do. And that's for many years. I worked for FCA before I got into education. Actually, when I was with the Giants, a guy introduced me, Mike Matheny. Mike Matheny took me to my first FCA camp. And I learned so much from that organization about just my identity is not in baseball. It's in something much greater than that. And that's where for 25 years, 20 years up until COVID, I had FCA at my house where I'd go to practice, and after practice, we'd go back to my house. I'd buy pizza, and we'd sit and talk about things much bigger than baseball. I know I saw where you sponsored FCA. Do you do it in Nixa, or are you still doing that?
So Coach Brumley, who's our track and cross country coach, is a sponsor at Nixa. We started it with Cody Pentecost, who was the area FCA rep. Got it going at Drury, and was going really well there. And then when I came down here, Coach Brumley runs it down here. And it's always been a big part of my life. And I've had so many coaches that have impacted me through FCA that, again, it's one of those things like everybody has a coach. There's a reason, you want to teach, or there's a reason you want to coach, and because somebody impacted you that wants to do that. And that's our hope too, is that we have that impact on our kids, that they want to, in some aspects, follow in your footsteps. And, another thing we did as a team was last year we started doing I give every guy a brand new baseball, and I made them go get it autographed. And I stole it from somebody, but I can't remember who. But I give them a baseball, and I make them go around to 5 to 7 people and get it autographed. And they have to tell them why they are having them autograph it, what they mean to them, how they've impacted them in the game of baseball or life. And then when we're done, they all have to get in front of the team and talk about it, talk about their baseball and why they had each person sign it and how they've impacted their life and this and that. And more so, it's crazy, but more so at a public school, sometimes it can be sticky or how much can we do, that kind of stuff. But it's crazy when guys would get up in front, almost every single guy, and they didn't have them sign it, but almost every single guy put God and Jesus on their ball and then said, without him, I wouldn't be playing this sport. I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be. And it's just one of those things that bigger picture, right? Like they know they have that, but they hear their teammates talk about it. Like I think so many of these guys want to be involved. They want to, have FCA. They want to have a Bible study and these kinds of things. But it's also they're 15 to 17. Like that's a lot of pressure on them too. Can be scary at times too, to open up in your faith. And so, but as they see more of their teammates doing it, they get more comfortable with that. They open up more about that, and that's really what it's all about. Like what they talk about why they play, and then we talk a lot about that too. Like, why do you play? What is the reason that you play this sport? Like, because baseball, like you said, it's not who you are; it's just what you do. And if you make it who you are, you find out real quick.
Yeah.
Again, it's not God that makes injuries happen, but you find out real quick once that becomes your identity and it gets taken away by an injury or something happens, you lose your identity. And now you don't know who you are as a person anymore because you thought you were a baseball player and nothing else. And now you don't have baseball. So who are you? And so we just try to get our guys. That's why the community service, their Bible studies, being good students, is we try to get them to understand and make that more of who they are, and just use the baseball part as their platform to share that.
Yeah. For those that don't know, we say FCA. We both know, but it's Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and basically it's a ministry it's student led in the public schools, and they're sponsors that basically train the leaders. So like my former players, I'm more proud of who they became as leaders through FCA, like Brett Graves, Nathan Orff, like these guys, Calvin Munson, the guys that I saw on the field that I love dearly, to see them take their faith and then go lead other people. That's the stuff that to me set them apart. And I don't care if they ever played professionally. I don't care if they played in college, but to see them be the leaders they were through FCA that was special to me. And it had nothing to do with me doing anything other than supporting what they want to do. Because in public school, obviously we're not supposed to, and that's fine. Separation of church and state, I get it. But for me to support a kid that wants to lead is all that we do. And to see them do that and be that confident in who they were, that to me is more special than the game itself. I don't state championships and all that stuff.
Yep.
Because those are the same guys that have gone on.
That's the thing is like, what And we've kind of, every year you look at yourself and you're like, what are we, if we gain the whole world, but we lose our soul, what did we really gain? Right?
Yeah.
Like if we win all these state championships, but we haven't impacted our kids in a positive way that's going to help them in the rest of their lives, like those trophies don't really mean squat. And so, yes, like you said, to see your kids, they're going to impact, they have the opportunity to impact so many more people with their lives and their faith and their being a good person than they do with their sport. That's ultimately what we want to see from our guys.
Yeah, when they go out into life, the impact they're going to have because of who they are is going to be far greater because of who they are than what they do. Like the baseball part for most of them are going to end in a couple years. But in 10, 15 years, when they're husband, when they're leaders, when they're fathers, that's when who they are really shows up. And I always want to make sure that they had something outside of baseball as their identity. And I know for some people they didn't really like it too much, but to me, that's why
they learn it in the end, though. They eventually realize it.
Oh yeah.
And I've been so much more proud now that I have had kids graduate and move on, and they're getting married and having kids. Like, so much more proud of those guys when I get the wedding invitations, the pictures of their kids, of their newborns, than I ever was of any home run they ever hit.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Like, it's amazing. And you understand that because they're now a great person, a great husband. They're impacting people in a positive way. And that's what makes you most proud.
And it's funny you were talking about injuries ending careers. And I mean, I don't think I've ever even shared it on here, but in 1997, my career ended with one injury. I'll shorten the story quickly, but basically April 23rd, I had all 30 major league teams there to watch me play. I was projected a 3rd round pick. My first couple of bats, I did well because the catcher on the other team at Carbondale was telling me the pitches because I grew up with them. So I had a couple of hits. I'm doing well. I'm running out to the field in the 5th inning, and Coach Hughes at the time stops me on my way out. It's never happened before. It's still to this day, I've replayed the conversation. He says, do you want to sit? Like, you've done everything you need to do. You've shown everything you need to show. This game, we were down like 8 runs. He's like, do you just want to come out? I'm like, Coach, man, I just want to play. The next pitch, over my head, I run out. I run to the center field fence, and I had compound fracture dislocation, and my career's over. And it's one of those things that I've looked back many times. I mean, the Giants drafted me, and I was with them a couple years, and it was a great experience. But if that injury doesn't happen, I don't get drafted by the Giants. And the guy that impacted my life more than anyone else spiritually was my roommate when I got to the Giants. So all those things, like the way God works through baseball and the way God works is something that is to be worshiped and is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes people get so caught up in the game that they forget that the lessons beyond the game is what matters. So,
yep.
Anyway, well, Coach, I appreciate you spending an hour with me, and it's been great getting to know you a little bit. I love to get down. See, I'm not coaching this year, so I'll have to get down to Nixa to watch some baseball and visit with you a little bit more. But I appreciate your time. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Anytime, man. Love to talk. I just love sports, love talking, faith, all of it.
Absolutely. Well, I have to get you back on here sometime soon. Before I get off here, the one thing for you local coaches, you guys big into all the technology and all the testing stuff. There's actually a Vold force plate workshop that's going to happen at Tross Chiropractics and Sports Performance, where my son goes and all kinds of other coaches. But he's having these guys in here and basically showing all the testing parts. So the force plates, the jumping, just to get, it's really cool. I've tried it. My vertical is not what it used to be, but it's interesting to see now you can get a kind of a baseline on your testing. So if you get hurt, then they can test again and see if you're actually healed or not. So if any coach interested in doing that, you can check that out. I'm sure I will put something in the comments down there so you know where to sign up. But next week, we are talking to Staley head coach. So I've never talked. Do you know the Staley coach at all, Coach?
Yeah, he's amazing. That'll be a great conversation, too. He's talking about an impact.
Oh.
quite an impact on their program in year one.
Absolutely, yeah. I got to see it up close and personal. So I look forward to seeing him. Coach, you have a great day. And everyone watching, thanks. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you share that thing. See you later.